All right, I'm anticipating there'll be two videos with this, so make sure you watch both of them. The essential questions are, how is communism different from fascism? Which frankly, most Americans do not understand, or they have a wrong interpretation of it. What leader promoted communism? What leaders promoted fascism? So you need to sort of be able to divide up these dictators into two categories. And why do you think the Munich Peace Conference ended the way it did? All right, so with rise of dictators, we're going to talk about the U.S. policies of the time. And FDR in the U.S. is concentrating on this economic crisis at home. He does, however, sponsor a good neighbor policy with Latin America. I think you should easily remember this because his distant cousin, Teddy Roosevelt, is the one that does the Roosevelt corollary, and Big Stick goes down there, beating up countries. Whereas FDR says we're going to be a good neighbor. So this cousin takes a different route and says the U.S. is now going to adopt non-interventionist policy, meaning we're not going to get involved in Latin America. While all that's going on, and FDR is early into his terms, and the world is suffering from a depression, big changes are happening in Europe. So first is totalitarian rule. If you notice right here, total is a prefix, so totalitarian is the government has total control over a nation. They suppress the rights of the people, silence those who disagree. There are multiple examples of totalitarian rule. The first example is fascism. This is the one a lot of Americans get wrong when they try to explain it, or they will say a certain person is fascist on the news, and they really are showing their ignorance because their definition is wrong. So fascism is a right-wing, ultra conservative government system where you have a dictator who's in complete power. He suppresses opposition, so if you oppose him, he'll kill you. And they regiment all industry. They're focusing on aggressive nationalism. So there's this racism. It's kind of like the jingoism from Spanish-American War, where we take over all these countries saying we're better than them. But this is even worse. The difference between patriotism, which is just love for your country, and nationalism, this aggressive nationalism, nationalism is we hate anyone who is not like us. So fascists hate anyone who's not like them from their country, and they are right-wing, ultra-conservative. Hitler is a fascist in Germany. Mussolini is a fascist in Italy. I wrote the word right here for right-wing, and I pointed the arrow right. Very ultra-conservative, hating anyone that's not like them. On the flip side, you have the communist system. And that one is the opposite, okay? So you're going to call someone a communist, you need to make sure you understand what you're saying. So communism is an economic system. It's actually the way the government provides and the way they make money. Where all property is publicly owned and each person pays ability to their need or their ability. Okay, so you pay into the system according to how much you have, and all property is owned by the government. So I would not own my own home or car or anything in a communist country. Everyone shares the burden of labor, so we're all supposed to pitch in and work, and basically for the good of the government. It is the opposite of capitalism, which is what we have in America, where you can make a profit and choose your career and spend money however you see fit, and everyone wears different clothing. In this communist society, there's only like one, for example, set of shoes or one set of shirts, and everyone looks the same because the government only produces that one set. So it's opposite capitalism. It is associated with the left-wing, ultra-liberal government system of socialism. Socialists believe that the government should own everything, the people should pay in what they can, the more you have, the more you should pay in, everything is looking the same, there's not a lot of options in a socialist society. Like, for example, we would all have the same kind of doctor. You wouldn't have as many doctor choices. Okay, it would be chosen for you. All right. I want to show you very quickly an example of this. I'm going to be honest, okay, that this is not done well on the internet. So this is the best one I could find, but it's still flawed. Don't Google it because you'll find a bunch of mess that's not true. But this part I agree with. There is a center politically. In America, Republicans are to the right, Democrats are to the left. The blue area would be kind of, I would say, normal people. Okay? They may be a little more conservative here, a little more liberal here. But if you keep going, the die-hard ultra-nationalists that hate everyone else, love only their country, extreme right-wing, are fascists. And if you keep going on the left side, die-hard, extremely liberal, the government should own everything, the people should just pay in what they can, the people should not have private property, is extreme left-wing, communist, or socialist. Now, I don't like the fact they put socialism here. It does start here in the Democratic Party somewhat, but I would put this more over here, communism and socialism together. This is the economic system. This is the governmental system. But basically, the government owns everything and you pay in what you can. Okay, so with the USSR, Joseph Stalin takes over when Lenin dies in 1924. Remember the Bolshevik Revolution where Lenin brought in that change of communism. It was struggling at the time that Lenin dies. So Stalin decides to take one great leap forward, and he comes up with this economic plan. And basically it says they're going to combine family farms into collectives run by the government. Now I brought some tractors. And basically before this, your tractors would be owned by the individual, right? These are my tractors that I use on my farm. But what happens is when Stalin comes in with these collectives, he takes away your private property, right? And it says basically the government, I'm not saying the tractor disappears from your farm, but now the government owns this tractor. They can sell it at any time, do whatever they want to it. You're just sort of renting. Okay, and it says, those who resisted this lost their land. He punished resistors by sending them to Siberia, which is very far north and also east in Russia. Freezing cold temperatures. Millions will die from starvation. Stalin is really a hidden secret because a lot of people think of Hitler when they think of the millions of people who die. Stalin does the same thing to his own people, except he puts them in labor camps in Siberia. Agriculture drops because, frankly, look, communism doesn't work, okay? This idea that this was my tractor and now I don't own it and I'm going to sort of pay rent, so to speak, and use it and give the government everything, every crop I produce, means I'm not going to give a flip about growing anything anymore. There's no profit in it for me. So agriculture drops enormously. He also builds industrial centers, trying to beef up industry, but this left people without consumer goods because now we're not making clothing, we're producing oil and coal and everything. He purified the Communist Party by getting rid of his opponents. His agents arrested more than 7 million people and 1 million were executed. So not a nice person, okay? Here is a picture of Stalin. Notice the communist USSR flag in the background. Okay, and here is a picture of collectives. This was a propaganda poster that now the state, the government would own all the farms. Okay, collectively we will work on the farms. You see the people look happy? That was not the case. Okay, now Italy, Mussolini. So Benito Mussolini had fought for Italy in World War I, just like Hitler did, fighting for Germany. And Mussolini believed that Italy should have been given more after the Versailles Treaty. Well, let me just tell you something. Italy flip-flopped, as you recall. So they come into the Entente very late, if you remember. So I don't think they deserved any more than they got. But anyway, he's going to argue they do. He wins support from other war veterans because he was a vet. And it says even opponents of the monarchy, even socialists. He's going to be a fascist. He has all these people to support him, even people not in his party. He calls himself Il Duce, the leader, and he organized fascist groups throughout Italy. Make sure you remember he is a fascist, okay? And he had gangs of thugs called black shirts to terrorize people who opposed him. Here is a picture of Mussolini, not a nice looking guy. And this is an interesting picture of a black shirt parade. So you see, literally, they're wearing black shirts with sashes parading through the towns in Italy. Okay, so that's that. All right. Next, he vowed to end Italy's economic problems. Most like Hitler's going to do, because we're in this depression, and he's going to promise them all these things. He stops the elections and names himself dictator. He then invades Ethiopia, which I have a magazine or a newspaper headline from that. War and 2 towns in Ethiopia are bombed. Italian planes spread death. So he is going to start the process of invasions into Ethiopia. Okay, and then we have Hitler. Hitler is from Austria. Most people do not realize that he's not actually from Germany. He did fight in World War I for Germany. He was very angry at the reparations, from the Versailles Treaty, $33 billion. What happens to the German economy? He hates the Versailles Treaty. So he joins the Nazi Party in 1919, Nazism, which is a form of fascism. Remember, very right-wing. We hate anyone who's not like us. And is basically bases this on the German nationalism, and Germans are racially superior is what they think. Okay, he's this charismatic speaker. I'll show you a video clip of him in class, and becomes leader of the Nazi Party. He does try to overthrow the government in 1923, spends 9 months in jail, and writes his autobiography, Mein Kampf, which basically leads him to blame the Jews for the German loss of World War I, the Jews who are living in Germany. He says we should have a stronger military. We should expand our borders. Folks, this is a clear violation of the Versailles Treaty, and that the Aryan race should be purified, blonde, blue-eyed Germans. Get rid of those that are not Aryan. And it goes on to say a Great Depression had hit Germany in the early 30s, which gives Hitler more of a platform. People are more desperate. He's made chancellor in 1933 and is elected president. He is elected and chancellor of Germany in 1934. He calls himself Der Führer, which means the leader. And he immediately violates the Versailles Treaty by rearming the German military. Okay, here is a picture of Hitler. Notice a couple of things. One, he's doing the Hail Hitler symbol. That was a Nazism symbol. Notice the German cross here from World War I. I think that's interesting. But of course, they have changed. This was well, I'm not going to tell you yet. Remind me to tell you in class where this symbol came from. But you notice he's got this band on that shows he's part of the Nazi Party. Here is Mein Kampf, the book that he wrote, which for many, many years after this would be banned in Germany. Okay, so his main goal is to put Germany in a dominant position. He wants to invade, conquest Eastern Europe, even the USSR. In 1936, he signs an alliance with Mussolini, the Italian fascist, because Hitler's a fascist, and creates this Axis, main organization between Rome and Berlin, Germany, Italy, and then later, as you know, Japan will come in on their side, and they'll be known as the Axis powers. Okay, I have a picture of that. Shows their flags. Axis, Germany, Italy, Japan. Okay, Germany, Italy, and Japan. The Nazi flag becomes their flag in Germany. Okay, last little bit. Hitler rushes into Austria. Austria refuses to give up their land, so he invades them, also takes Western Czechoslovakia known as Sudetenland, which is old Germanic kingdom. They call this Anschluss, unification, that we're going to take these areas over to unite all German-speaking people. But at the Munich Peace Conference, Britain and France give in to Hitler's demands and do this. Slap him on the hand and say, don't do that anymore. And he says, oh no, I won't invade any other place, because they're so afraid of another world war. And I'll try to show you, there's a picture of them at Munich Peace Conference. And here is Anschluss, the area they take over.